Hello, my name is Caroline. Welcome back to Civics. You may have heard your parents or other adults say, "Never talk about politics at the dinner table." This comment always made me pause. If politics is the process we use to determine the direction of our society, then why would we not talk about it at the dinner table? Isn't the dinner table the place we gather, discuss our day, and talk about the world around us? Divisive, heated, partisan, corrupt, charismatic. These are all words we associate with politicians and their parties. Today, you will define the two-party political system as well as the concepts liberal and conservative. In the last unit, we looked at the evolution of the Constitution in terms of guaranteeing citizenship, civil rights, and in particular, suffrage. It became clear that politics has two forms: electoral, which refers to people voting for representatives in elections for public office, and mass democracy, which refers to people organizing at local, regional, and national levels in order to effect change. In Unit 5, we will analyze the two-party political system that has always dominated American electoral politics and has utilized the energy generated by mass democracy and third parties. Close your eyes. Think of the word politics. What comes to mind? How many political parties do you see? If I was a betting person, I would wager you see two and only two. Maybe the color blue and red? An elephant and donkey? America has historically only had two viable political parties. This means that at any point, there has only ever been two political parties that had a realistic chance at winning the major offices. You got it. That's why it is said we have a two-party political system. Let's keep in mind that a political party is not part of the government. They are organizations formed by people that share similar values, beliefs about policy direction, and attempt to control the government by electing candidates to office. Two-party system is a political party system in which two major political parties consistently dominate the political landscape. This does not mean that there are no other parties, just that they have no to little chance of winning major offices. Before we move on, I need you to fill out this poll to show what you know. What is a two-party system? Can you tell me what the name of the current two parties is? In previous lessons, we discussed the terms liberal and conservative. In Unit 5, it is important we revisit this because it is so often used to describe someone's general political position. It is also used to identify a person with either the Republican or Democratic Party. However, these uses are in fact major generalizations. Today, we will give you the popular use of the words and the concrete concept those generalizations stem from. People who identify as liberal tend to believe that the government has a responsibility to help remove barriers that prevent people from fully enjoying their freedoms and thus participating in civic life. Typically, but not always, liberals advocate for a larger federal presence and loose constructivism. A loose constructivist approach believes the Constitution should be interpreted in a way that reflects the social and historical conditions in order to better meet the needs of citizens. On the other hand, people who identify as conservative tend to view government as a barrier to individuals fully enjoying their freedoms and thus participating in civic life. Typically, but not always, conservatives advocate for a larger role by state governments and strict constructivism. A strict constructionist believes that the Constitution should be interpreted narrowly in order to adhere to the original intent of the framers. The split tends to reflect what each thinks is the role of the government and law in our lives and the impact that role has on our constitutional and civil rights. These terms help people identify with a particular set of general political values and beliefs that enable people to better understand and associate with policy directions. It also helps people evaluate the political direction of a nation and the representatives involved in creating policy. But again, these are generalizations. The problem with generalizing people's political positions is it removes the nuance and contradictions that we all have inside of us. Most Americans have views that contradict one another and oftentimes vote based on their current needs. These needs change as life changes. For example, as a senior in high school, cheap or free college tuition may be an important issue. This would be liberal because we do not have that. As an older adult, taxes may be an important issue, and free college tuition could make taxes rise. You might not support that change. Now you find yourself supporting a conservative position. Neither situation makes you a liberal or a conservative, but instead reflects a change in your needs in life and how a particular issue impacts those needs. Finally, generalizing masks the relationship between a political position on an issue and the legal status of that issue. In other words, society changes, and as it changes, what is actually liberal and conservative shifts. The literal definitions of each word are based on the degree to which someone embraces change and the role of law in order to affect or prevent change. Let's use what is called a political spectrum to make this more clear. In the center is a moderate view. Liberal is set at left of center. Conservative is set at right of center. Radicalism is left extreme and reactionary is right extreme. Liberal means that on a specific issue, the person wants to use law to advance change. Conservative means that on a specific issue, the person wants to use law to prevent or slow the pace of change. A radical is willing to use any means necessary to effect change, and a reactionary is willing to use any means necessary to prevent change, or even take society back to the past. The point is that whether something is a liberal or conservative position changes as the legal status of the issue changes. For example, if I support a drastic rise in a gasoline tax because it emphasizes green technology, which reduces carbon emission, this would be a liberal position because this tax does not legally exist. Now imagine that the tax passes. You would now hold a conservative position, even though environmental positions are considered liberal. Why? Because the tax legally exists, and so to keep it, it's conservative, the status quo. Another way to understand these words is to the degree to which one accepts ideas rather than law. In a similar fashion, a liberal position embraces a new idea, and a conservative position resists the idea. In this light, the terms connect to mass democratic politics that are not focused on law, but rather community organizing and social change. But within any community, people can hold liberal views and conservative views at the same time. It simply depends on how they feel about the particular idea. Before we wrap up, you know what you need to do. Show what you know. If you call someone liberal, what does it imply? What about conservative? What does each word actually mean in relation to law and ideas? Why is understanding the literal definition important? Understanding the actual definitions and their relationship to law helps us remove the divisiveness of those terms. It allows us to appreciate the complicated nature of politics, people, and society. Although this nature is complicated, it does not have to be violent and divisive. At the end of the day, we are all Americans, all humans, and have only one planet in which to coexist. Throughout Unit 5 and the rest of the class, we will explore some of the current issues we face. Before we recap, think about the following question as you work through the unit. Can a political party actually represent an individual or group of people's interests on each issue that arises? Why or why not? Today we learned that America has a two-party system, which means politics has always been dominated by two parties. We learned that liberal and conservative have dual meanings. In one way, they refer to generalizations that associate with a particular set of beliefs and values. In another way, They actually refer to the degree to which someone wants to see a particular issue legally change or an idea turned into reality through mass democratic practices. That's it, folks. Next time, we head back into the MiaPlasmatic 3000 for a first-hand look at the history of the two-party system. Till then, don't forget to vote, debate, and participate.
Hey, hey.